Welcome to the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast. I'm Joanne, a female entrepreneur, small business coach, and a creative business owner on a mission to help and inspire other women out there who want to make a decent living doing something they love. If you have your own small business, or maybe you've been thinking about starting one but not sure where to start, then this podcast is for you. I share everything I know about starting a creative business from my own experience of running my handmade stationery company, Vintage Twee. It's as honest and as down-to-earth as me, and it's an eclectic mix of sound business advice, northern humour, and real life, because it's not easy, is it? This podcast celebrates the selflessness, the strength and resilience of women, because we possess a superpower so great that we can handle whatever life throws at us, and come out the other side. We are survivors, we are warriors, and we are as determined as hell to succeed. Hello and welcome to the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast. I'm flying solo this week. I've had my first couple of guests on for the past 2 episodes and it's been really good having another person with me to chat to. I just really enjoyed it because you miss it, don't you, when you're self-employed and you sat there on your own, you're talking to yourself daily. So it was really nice to have somebody with me to speak to. And I enjoyed it that much actually that I've got some more interviews lined up over the next few weeks with some really incredible women. They're all so different. They've got different backgrounds, different stories, different businesses, but they've all got one thing in common, and that is their absolute determination to succeed. And that's why I wanted to speak to them and feature them on this podcast, because that's what I'm all about. And it leads me perfectly onto today's episode, which is all about success. And the reason why I thought this would be a good topic for the podcast is because I keep seeing things and reading stuff on social media about being successful, particularly because I follow a lot of accounts like aimed at women in business, like coaching accounts and like female entrepreneurs and stuff like that. And there's just so much emphasis on success being measured by how much money you have made that day, that week, that month. And I don't know if you've seen these kind of posts, but they say stuff like, oh, this is how much money Instagram can make you. Comment abundance to learn how. I mean, I bloody hate that word. It drives me bonkers. But they really get on my nerves because success, it doesn't usually just come like that. Unless, of course, you're like so ridiculously lucky and you just fall on your feet. I mean, I'm certainly not. And I'm not usually friends with people who are like that either. So, I like to mix in circles where people appreciate the struggle, and they get a bit of a shit time from time to time. That's the people I mix with. Anyway, it got me thinking about how we define success versus how we should actually be looking at it. That is, what it means to us, each of us individually, taking into account our own circumstances. Because success for you won't be the same as success for someone else. It can't be. And I want to talk about how we can make sure that we still feel successful as a woman in business and in everyday life by looking at the wider picture and not just limiting success to financial gain. Because like I said, it doesn't happen overnight, right? You're not going to wake up one day and find that your last social media post about your new Christmas stocking range or whatever has gone viral because, I don't know, Stacey Solomon stumbled across it. She bought one for all her kids, all of her 5 pickles or whatever she calls them. And now a whole 6 million of her followers want one, right? I mean, it could happen. You never say never. But we can't sit around and wait for stuff like that to happen. And the truth is, right, if it did, most of us would probably just panic and then just fold under the pressure anyway, right? But success is a series of steps, and it's sometimes tiny ones that often get overlooked because they don't appear to hold any monetary value or status to us. Well, we need to change this perspective if we're going to make it in business, because it's often an accumulation of these little things that lead to the outcome that we want. So we're going to talk about this today, and we're going to look at the changing face of success, and how our definition of it changes as we age as well, which I think is really interesting. And, by the end of this episode, I guarantee, right, you're going to feel like Oprah bloody Winfrey, like all $2.8 billion worth of her. You're going to feel amazing, okay? So success, it means something different to everybody, doesn't it? I'll give you a funny example that is relevant, I promise, but it'll also make you laugh because I like to tell these little funny anecdotes. So last week I was back at the hospital after my recent surgery, my mastectomy, and I was attending just like a standard physio appointment, and I got there early, like I always do, get parked up, make sure you get a space so you're not running around stressed out. So I thought, I know, I'll go and grab myself a Costa just to kill a bit of time. I mean, I'd rather it not be in hospital, in a hospital coffee shop, but to be honest, that place feels like weirdly comforting to me now since I've spent so much bloody time there, honestly. When I get within a 5 metre radius of the building, my Wi-Fi automatically connects now. It's like, welcome back, Joanne. It's like, yeah, thanks. Anyway, so I'm there in Costa, right? Just got my latte. And as I'm walking out, I see my surgeon, Ben, walking towards me, right? Bearing in mind that this poor 30-something-year-old man, no less than a few months ago, had removed my nipples, which are pickling in a jar somewhere, now in some laboratory. He'd vacuumed out my breasts and then stuffed them like a Christmas turkey with my belly fat, right? Plus, God knows what else he witnessed, judging by the amount of tubes that I had in me in every orifice when I woke up, right? So, obviously, a bit of an embarrassing situation. Well, I saw him coming towards me. I thought, I can't hide. He's literally coming right up to me. So he looks up. He just looked really surprised to see me, as I was him. And we just stopped for 2.5 minute awkward conversation. But his first question to me was, oh, how are you doing, Joanne? Followed by, you're looking really well. And it was really enthusiastically, as oh, you're looking really well, Joanne. Which was accompanied by a bit of a fleeting glance at my chest, right? And he just looked really pleased with himself, as he should, he's done a cracking job. But you could just see this professional satisfaction as a plastic surgeon admiring his own work. And for him to see his patient walking through the hospital looking as though nothing had happened to her, at least on the outside, it was a huge success to him. You could tell that he was genuinely happy, in a really kind, caring, I've helped you kind of way. And I just thought to myself that success to him, it came in the form of seeing someone who was almost broken by the fear of what's to come, terrified of making it off the table alive, scared of handing over control of my appearance, my future health, everything, putting all my trust in him. Seeing that same person walking down the corridor, alive and well and less fearful of the future, that was his definition of success. I mean, I'm sure he's paid a pretty penny for it too, he's not doing it for free. But I genuinely don't think that that's the sole motivational factor for these people who do these kind of jobs. I really don't. And it just made me think that success just comes in many forms, doesn't it? And for us entrepreneurs and small business owners, our successes are usually on a much smaller scale. Well, like I've said before in previous podcast episodes, we're not saving lives physically as such. We're not rebuilding bodies. We don't get massive salaries. We don't get huge pay rises. No. Does it mean that we're not successful? Absolutely not. Because our successes are the smaller little wins, and they're more sporadic. You don't know when they're going to come, but they do come. It's like maybe you've got your first order on Etsy or your website, or maybe you got a great review or a lovely email from a customer about something that you made for them. Or maybe it's got nothing to do with sales or anything like that. Maybe you just got yourself organised, right? You decided what you're going to focus on selling, or you're clear about your direction. That is success. Whatever it is, no matter how small, celebrate it. Because it's these small steps that will snowball as time goes on. And your goal, whatever it may be, it could be earning 30, 40k a year from your business, or it could be just getting yourself a small but loyal following that brings you regular sales and financial stability. Nothing more, that's what you're happy with, and that's absolutely fine. It'll happen. It's like success is a sum of all these parts. My daughter, okay, she plays with Play-Doh all the time. She's like absolutely obsessed with it, obsessed with the texture of it, the smell of it, loves it. And she often gets numerous tubs of different colours. You know, she breaks them all into small pieces. So she's got like a pile of pink, a pile of blue, pile of green, purple, etc., etc. And then, if you're a bit OCD, right, you might want to cover your ears for this bit. She just mushes them all together, like to make like one big ball of brown. It's infuriating, right? I have to bite my tongue. I have to tell myself that this is just all in aid of her development. You know, it's her exploration skills and all that. When really, I'm just thinking, oh my God, what are you doing, child? That is a total waste of a fiver. Like, and when I ask her, why? Why do you insist on doing that? She just goes to me, well, I just want to put them all together, mummy, to make them like 100 million times bigger. And it's so cute. But it's those little balls of colour. They're like your little wins. And you put them all together and you've got one big ball of success. And they're so important and they mustn't be overlooked, because without them, you won't get to that end goal, which is hopefully not being a big ball of brown, right? But you get what I mean. So have a think about what you've achieved, either since starting your business, or if that was a long time ago and it's a bit too taxing on your memory, think about the last 12 months. I bet if you've got a notepad right now and a pen, I bet you could write down at least 10 small things. 10 small things that you have achieved. Try it, just see. And the accumulation of these little wins is how you become established and recognised and a real business. It's like with this podcast, for example. I started this a year ago. I mean, I didn't have sort of any plan. I would just write these podcasts, write a script, maybe think about what I want to talk about, ask around, and then I'll just talk. And it's grown, and it's grown, and it's grown, and now I've had guests on. You know, it's getting there. It's not where I want it to be yet, but it's getting there. It's a hell of a lot further than it was last year, and I'm really proud of myself for that. So I think it's really important to remember that your definition of success will change, and it's a very fluid thing, and it will be different as you age as well, particularly as your personal circumstances change or life events happen. It's inevitable. Okay, we get redefined all the time, don't we, by the things that happen to us. And you find that the goalposts are often more like they sort of move in terms of what it means for us to be successful. And success looks so different over the decades for us. If you think back, okay, so for example, let's look at when you're in your teenage years, all right, late teens, 18, 19. For me, my definition of success is finding the best club to dance the night away in, you know, with the best R&B tunes and 2 for 1 on cocktails. You know, it was perhaps like leaving with a guy's phone number or having like a cheeky kiss on the dance floor. I actually felt successful if I had managed to go out every Thursday, Friday and Saturday night into Manchester and made it on the last bus home at like 3 a.m. Managed to have a cheese, coleslaw and ketchup sandwich with my sister in one of our beds. We used to do that, and we'd chat about the night and what happened. You know, and then we'd still get up for work the next day. Like, that was successful to us when we were 18, 19, 20. And then you look at the next decade, your 20s. It wasn't much different, to be honest. Not in the early part of the 20s anyway. But my mid-20s, my definition of success had definitely shifted. I was more career focused. You know, I'd graduated from uni. I was looking at getting a good job and then working my way up in that job. And now I used to feel successful if I got praise from my bosses, right? And I had some awful bosses. I swear it's what put me off working for people and wanting to do things on my own. I just had some really bad experiences. One company that I worked for, they had like 2 50-something-year-old men in charge, constantly on a power trip, and they bullied a lot of the young women who worked there, including me. You know, we were all in our early 20s, vulnerable, didn't like speaking up, and they just bullied us. They got us to do all these jobs they didn't want to do, and we didn't feel like we could speak up to them. There was one time And one of them, he had a drinking problem, and he came back from his lunch break, and he was quite obviously pissed. And he literally had me like pinned against the wall, having a go at me because I hadn't responded to an email that he'd sent about 2 hours before. And I could smell this whiskey on his breath. It was just awful. And I remember running to the toilet, just crying. I was crying after that. And one of my male colleagues at the time, he was so angry. And he went to speak to this person in question. And I don't know what happened. But yeah, it was awful. And, 21-year-old Joanne just accepted that. I didn't have the confidence to challenge a 55-year-old man on his lack of professional conduct, no. But 41-year-old Joanne, oh, that would have been a different story. Like, she would have kicked him in the balls and got him fired. Like, seriously, it's amazing what we put up with when we're younger, isn't it? But success in my 30s again changed, totally redefined. And, 30s for me, I don't know what it's been like for you, or if you're still there, there was a lot of failures. Right? I failed at a lot of things in my 30s. I always thought, it's 29, turn 30, it's going to be a good decade. It was absolutely awful in some ways. Okay, other ways it was wonderful. My focus in my 30s, my idea of success was being able to meet someone and settle down, have kids, which I did achieve in my late 30s. But I made a lot of mistakes to get there. And I think that it was like these things that changed the goalpost of success for me. Like, I had a failed marriage the first time round, met the wrong man. I lost a very precious auntie who died very suddenly at the age of 60. And then not long after, I lost my mum as well. And to be honest, it was just, I felt successful if I had just got out of bed and made it through the day most of the time. Like, that was my definition of success. I've done it. I've made it through another day. Then as things settled again and I became a new mum, the goalposts shifted again. And I felt successful if I made it through the endless days and nights with a newborn, having no mum to help me. If I managed to wash my hair or get my daughter to nap for like 3 hours straight. You know what I mean? If you've got kids, like, every day you manage to keep them alive is like winning the bloody Olympics, isn't it? You think, how am I doing this? And that was what success meant to me in my late 30s. Work sort of got put on the back burner. And now in my 40s, success has changed again. And I think for me, success is about gratitude. And I feel successful to have overcome some like major hurdles and survive the shittest of shitstorms. Like, it's much less money orientated. Not that I've ever been materialistic, but I'm just more grateful for what I have. Like my family, a handful of true friends who I would do anything for, and they would do anything for me. Knowledge about my health that has given me the power to get one step ahead of a disease that has just, and it still is, ripping through our family. Success in my 40s, as boring as it sounds, is getting my washing dry. When you get those days, it's like a windy, dry day and you can get 2 or 3 loads done and it's, your bedding's off in the morning and back on again at night. That's success, isn't it, in your 40s? It's a big win, satisfying. Success is being a good mum to my daughter, whose needs will always come before my own now. She said to me the other day, I was putting her to bed, and it wasn't long after her birthday, which was at the end of August. And she said to me, "Mummy, you are the bestest mummy ever. I am never swapping you. And you are the best birthday maker." I am pretty good at birthdays, I'm not going to lie. It's one of my strengths. I love a theme. But in that moment, I just thought to myself, do you know what? That is success. 24 hours earlier, she was running away from me down our local high street screaming, "You're the worst parent ever!" Just because I'd refused to buy her a whole new outfit in Next just for the walk home from school. Like, fickle sods, aren't they? But you get what I mean. In that moment, it felt amazing. And it didn't matter that my other business, Vintage Tree, had been closed for 6 months and we'd had no money coming in. It didn't matter that her handmade hustle was taking its time to take off. And, it's been difficult, as it is when you start a new business. All that just got pushed to the side for that mere moment. And I thought, yeah, I've achieved something amazing there, and I was proud of myself. So professionally, maybe you're like me, okay, and you're embarking on a new business journey. So it's all very new to you, and you're feeling a little bit wobbly about what success should look like. Well, don't worry, because it will come in so many different ways, and it's acknowledging all of those little wins that we mentioned earlier. Success when you're self-employed is about celebrating the fact that you've got more freedom and control over your working life. Even if you aren't making much money at the moment. I've always said, right, as long as you can survive financially whilst you build your business up and accumulate these little wins, then you are succeeding, right? If you can pay your bills and get food on the table, do everything that you have to do, anything else is a bonus. You are successful because you have the flexibility to drop everything, to go and tend to a family emergency, or go and do school pickup, or take 2 hours, whatever, out your day to have a swim, do some baking, gardening, whatever makes you happy. I got my eyebrows done this morning. I got them microbladed, like powder brows they call them, and they look absolutely fantastic. And I felt guilty. I sat there for like an hour and a half and I thought, oh my God, it's a Monday morning. What am I doing? I shouldn't be sat here having some me time. But actually, I felt great afterwards. And I thought, well, when else would I do it? It was really important. And I felt like I was winning. I was winning at life, okay? And sometimes I think the flexibility that comes from working for yourself, it totally overrides the financially tough periods. And they're not all the time. You will get peaks and troughs. You always will when you're self-employed, and they will get the tough times will get less and less as your business grows. When you're older, again, like I anticipate in my 50s and 60s, it will be quite similar in terms of my definition of success. It'll all be about being grateful, my family, being comfortable enough, hopefully, to enjoy some little luxuries, a few more holidays, things that make me happy. And if I even make it to my 70s and 80s, who knows? I think my definition of success will just be bloody waking up every day. I'll be grateful of that. So if you're anything like me, you might be thinking, okay, yeah, I can celebrate these little wins and I can be optimistic that they will eventually grow into something bigger. Whatever it is you want. For example, it could be to be earning a wage that you can live off, or maybe you're happy just selling a few items a month, making a couple of £100, and you're comfortable with that. That's enough for you. That's absolutely fine. But what you do in the interim while you're waiting, what do you do while you're waiting for it to happen? Because that bit can seem forever, can't it? Like months, sometimes years. It can feel like it's dragging on. When am I going to make it? When am I going to feel this level of comfort from my business so that I don't really have to try anymore? Okay. Well, the truth is, you will always have to try. You can really never take your foot off the pedal. But I think from my experience, one piece of advice that I give to a lot of the women that I speak to is that you have to treat every day with your business as if it's the first day of when you opened it. And you have to approach it with the same level of enthusiasm and commitment as you did right at the beginning. I mean, if you didn't feel it at the beginning in the first place, then maybe it's just like not a good idea that you do it anyway. You should have that enthusiasm at the beginning. And it's going to dwindle, of course it is. But what you need to do every day is to seek opportunities to get yourself out there, right? You've got to be proactive. You've got to talk to people, show them what you do. Google yourself. Like, are you visible? I'm always Googling myself because I think if I can't find me and what I offer, like, what are the chances that somebody else can? No one else is going to find me either. So if you can't find yourself easily by typing in what you do, your niche, your products, etc., what can you do to change that? Sometimes I get a nice surprise and I found out that like a blog or something, someone has featured my work and I've got like some free promotion, which is great. But other times, not quite so much of a nice surprise. And you find out that someone has stolen your business name and is trying to recreate your company in like some soul destroying scam, which happened to me just a few days ago, which if you've been following me on social media, you'll see that somebody in America somewhere has set up a herhandmadehustle.com, iam.co.uk for the record. And it looks like they are posing or trying to pose as my company. to steal customers' details, to dupe them into going onto their website instead of mine. And it was absolutely soul destroying. It hit me really hard last week after trying to build up a trusted brand for as long as I have so far. For someone just to come along, steal the name from my head, which I thought of myself after loads of deliberation, and then just set up a website, which is quite obviously fake. So, that's a whole different episode anyway. I won't go into that now. There's only one Her Handmade Hustle, and it ain't dodgy Gina from Arizona, just saying. So what I am saying is to you, build up your box of little successes. Okay, don't sit on your ass and wait for them to come to you, because you're going to be waiting a long time. And obviously, it's not realistic to be feeling amazingly passionate like you did on day one of your business every single time you sit at your desk. God, after finding out about this scam website, I swore off work for the rest of the week. I'd had enough. But the days that you do feel good and you do feel proactive, and the days that aren't chock full of like life admin and stress, then you can focus and go all in on your business. If you can try and do one new thing on those days to progress your business, then that is a result. That is success. Okay. And try and make it not just about social media. It's not just putting a post out there about your products or having a presence on social media that day. Okay. I know it does feel like you've achieved something when you've done that, doesn't it? Because it's hard work. But try and take it outside of social media. So think about, maybe you could reach out to somebody like a magazine or a blog in your industry or your niche and ask them to feature your work. It doesn't cost anything, and they actually feature you for free if they like your story. So have a look at the kind of magazines that you would like to be in, or the blogs that you'd like to be featured on, and go big. Go for the big magazines, go for Red Magazine, go for Women and Home, go for Style at Home. I've been in that one a couple of times. Cheshire Life I've been in, Derbyshire Life I'm going to be in. These are the people that are looking for stories. And if you don't want to go that big, go to your local newspaper. They bloody love a local story, So don't rule things like that out. Reach out to them, find the editor, send them an email, ask them to feature your work. You could set up a review page for your business on like an independent platform such as Trustpilot. It's free. You set it up and you just email your previous customers or people that you know, and you ask them to write a review on there. So I say it's free. It helps your visibility and your credibility. It helps Google find you. The more sort of presence that you have in different forms online will help your SEO, your search engine optimization. You could tidy and organize your workspace so you can find things, be more efficient, just get through orders quicker because you can find stuff. I've just literally done this because, obviously Vintage Tweed has been shut for a few months of my operation, and my studio, like a bomb site. I'm not kidding you. There's like toys everywhere. There's a few pairs of knickers on the floor that my daughter just whips off and chucks around to scoop all them up. There's like crayons everywhere, Play-Doh, slime smushed in. I thought it's time that I get my space back. Like, I have to get this back. Otherwise, I'm not going to be in the right frame of mind to work. So I put aside 2 days last week and I organised it. And I had one specific set of shelves, which is going to contain all the materials for the products that I'm going to be making for Christmas. And looking at it now, I can see it now in my studio. It feels great. I feel ready to open next week and take on some Christmas orders. That was a huge success for me. So that might be the same for you. Organise your workspace. It's so good for your mental well-being, honestly. You could even do some research on those good days when you're feeling enthusiastic. Go on Google, see what people are buying or what's trending in your area of work. You could write or rewrite, update your product descriptions if you're on Etsy, if you've got a website, to make sure that they contain the keywords that they need to get found if someone's searching for what you do. You could brainstorm. Like, grab yourself a brew, a notepad, and think about your next move. Like, never take your foot off the gas, because at least on those days that you can or are able to, because I know that some days just aren't like that, like I said, and you're better off just forgetting work on those days because you ain't going to get anything done. Say you're looking after the kids or the grandkids, or you've got appointments, or you need to run school errands, whatever, right? There's no point even trying. You just have to write those days off. My point is that the success that you want for your business, whatever that may look like for you, is the sum of all these little parts that you will be doing in the background as and when you can. And you need them. You need them to get to the end goal. So don't stop doing them, no matter how small or insignificant they may appear. I do something every single day for one of my businesses to try and progress it. Every day. And I don't always get an answer, don't always get a result, but the more you fire out there, the more chance you've got of getting something back. Accept that things take time. It's hard work. There's no magic formula to success apart from you. Right? It's all down to you. No matter what you see on social media, certain coaches, whatever, will tell you that you sign up with them and they'll change your life. They will tell you how to make 6 figures in a month. It's ridiculous. It's not going to happen without you. You are the secret ingredient, and it's all going to be down to you. We can help, we can guide, we can motivate, but you've ultimately got to do it. So I just want to sort of wrap up the day's episode, really talking about how you cope with those days, those moments when you don't feel successful, when you aren't sure what the hell you're actually doing or if it's ever going to work. And sometimes you can be sat there, I don't know about you, and you just don't know what your next move is or whatever. Me and my friend have a name for it. We call it option paralysis, right? Where you're sat there and say the kids have gone to school or, the husband's out, whatever. And you're like, what can I do? What should I do for my business? And she works for herself as well. She's got a baking business. Sometimes we just feel so stuck, don't we? Because we're not sure what direction to take. And this particular day when we came up with the phrase option paralysis, we were messaging each other and we just said, what should we do? What should we be working on? And do you know what we did? We decided to go to B&M instead. Yeah. So that didn't work that day, but we knew it wasn't going to happen, right? But, I tell you what, that's why I normally don't just bugger off to B&M if I can't think of what my next move is, right? But I'll tell you what I do when I feel like that, right? So I either ditch it for the day and get out like that, go for a coffee somewhere I love. And the other thing that I do is that if I'm feeling really down or really unsuccessful and that things aren't working, I will call or I will text someone who always makes me feel better and can give me a whole new perspective on it. I've probably got, I'd say, about 3 women who are able to do this for me. The main one is my sister. She is the first person that I call in a crisis or if I'm feeling a bit shit. It seems like a really selfish thing to say to someone who's going through chemo and got a battle of her own going on. And it probably is. But regardless, she always says to me to ring her and to call her, to text her. And she's always there for me. She never makes me feel like my problems are any less important than her. And the second person that I call on is my best friend who, as shit luck would have it, is also currently going through chemo. I know, right? Unbelievable. 2 of the most important women in my life dealing with this awful disease. But again, she's grateful of the distraction and it always sets me back on the right path after I've spoken to her. And the third wonderful lady in my life, which is the one that I just mentioned, my other best friend who is always there at the end of a text message. She happens to be the baker with her own baking business. It's called the Biscuit Days. Go and check her out on Instagram. She has some amazing bakes. I'm not kidding you. She always does all of our family cakes and cookies and everything. They're absolutely delicious. And she always just turns up to the school run with fresh bread and brownies for me. So obviously that helps massively. When you're feeling a bit rubbish and you get delivered a big food parcel, it's great. So find someone who can help you, whether it's a friend, a colleague, a partner, a mentor, whoever, and just lean on them for a different perspective and some fresh energy. I'll do it for you. I'd love to. In fact, while we're on the subject, my WhatsApp service is actually perfect for it. You can text me any time that you feel a bit crap or you need help or you don't know what your next move is, you don't know what you want to do. And I'm there. I'll be there at the end of a text message to help you. You can find out more about that on my website, herhandmadehustle.co.uk, .uk, not com. Please don't go on that one. And I'll put the link to that in my show notes as well for anybody that's interested. It's just £19 a month. It's nothing. And I'm there for you whenever you want me. Okay, so all the details will be in the show notes. But yeah, I mean, that brings today's episode to a conclusion. I feel like I've said everything that I wanted to say about success and the definition of it and how it changes over time. And I just hope you've enjoyed listening to it and it's made you realise that every little thing that you do for your business, no matter how small it is, no matter how tiny you may think it seems, it will contribute to the end goal. And it's like we said on last week's episode with the lovely Isada from the small company called Pashmizi. She sells Italian-made scarves, absolutely beautiful. You have to remember where you started from, because you're a hell of a lot further down the road than you were then, right? Remember what's important to you at this point in your life. Is it being a good mum, a good grandparent? Is it having a hot coffee? Is it getting your washing dry? Being healthy? Or is it just getting through that next difficult day, week, month, whatever it is? These are your successes, all right? So acknowledge them and celebrate them and don't ever forget them. So what's coming up next week? Right, I have another guest joining me who I know you're going to love and admire and get a lot of inspiration from, right? For a start, she's a mum of 4 boys. 4 kids. Jesus, right? She's obviously a survivor, right? And I bet a bathroom absolutely stinks. Like, I don't know how you live with 4 boys and a husband or a partner. I only have one, and yeah, it's not easy. So yeah, she is absolutely lovely. Her name is Chantal. She's the founder of an amazing social enterprise called the Clothes Horse that basically provides clothes to families with little or no income. She's also currently training as a child therapist, and she's got her own business called Grounded Parenting, where she helps mums connect more deeply with their children. And she does this by helping the mums prioritise their own self-care. And that's something I think we could all do with, couldn't we? We never take any time for ourselves. She's also living my dream life down in Cornwall. She's like 5 minutes from the beach. Amazing. And she's got that earthly, relaxed vibe going on. She's absolutely lovely. You're going to love her, honestly. I can't wait to talk to her on the podcast. She'll have loads of pearls of wisdom for us, I'm sure. So it's loads to look forward to. But until then, please do head to my website if you're interested in working with me or you'd like me to help you with your creative business. There's loads of help on there for everyone, all different levels, so you don't feel alone. You know, I'm here if you need me. If you can rate and review this episode, just give it a star. Whatever you can do really helps me. Or subscribe to the podcast. It's totally free. Thanks so much for listening and enjoy the rest of your day, night, whatever time you're listening to this. And I will see you next time.